Hey everyone, Coaster Phils here. Since the holiday season has arrived, I thought it would be a good idea to treat you guys to a special video. So today, I'll be going over my top 10 coasters as of the end of 2024. Before we begin, I would like to talk about a few honorable mentions. Raptor at Cedar Point is a great B&M input with a great layout and some fantastic moments of good whip and intensity. Big Bear Mountain at Dollywood is a fantastic family coaster with an insanely fun, long layout and good moments of whip. Finally, Max Force at Six Flags Great America is an insane launch coaster with good whip, hang time, and my favorite launch of all time. Now that we have the honorable mentions out of the way, let's begin my top 10. At number 10, we have Valravn, a B&M dive coaster at Cedar Point. Valravn is an interesting coaster because not all the elements hit on this ride, however, the elements that do are very good. The most notable element is obviously the 90-degree, 220-foot first drop. This drop leaves you hanging, staring straight down for 3 seconds before dropping you. This element provides great floater airtime, and along with the mid-course drop and final airtime hill, these are the only moments of airtime on the ride. This coaster also goes through 3 inversions, however the first 2 are forceless. The third inversion is great, as it slowly crawls through a 0G roll, leaving you some great hang time. This type of coaster will be coming to my home park, Six Flags Great America, next year, so to learn more about my thoughts on that, watch my video. But in terms of Valravn, it's a very solid coaster to start the list. At number 9, we have Guardians of the Galaxy, Cosmic Rewind at Epcot. This coaster will always hold a special place in my heart, as this was the coaster that made me a coaster enthusiast. My first and only 2 rides on this made me absolutely fall in love with roller coasters and everything about them. This coaster is very similar to the previously mentioned Big Bear Mountain. They're both Vekoma family launch coasters and have the same positives. Big Bear Mountain and Guardians are both super long, super fun, and have a few good moments of whip. Guardians of the Galaxy, however, takes this to the next level, giving an even longer ride with amazing theming and even a few pops of airtime in the back row. This coaster's theme of Guardians of the Galaxy only adds to the insane theme and gets you even more immersed into this coaster. Overall, this coaster will always be one of my personal favorites, and I'm happy to rank it here. At number 8, we have Thunderhead, a GCI Woody at Dollywood. This coaster is probably one of the most underrated coasters on this list. This ride is just insane, with quite a good ride time, full of great whip, and so many great pops of airtime. This ride finds ways to squeeze airtime pops in out of nowhere, and combining the great sense of speed throughout the layout adds even more to this chaotic ride experience. This layout is just so good and underrated, combining a perfect mixture of airtime, laterals, whip, and a great sense of speed. All these forces and quick elements help create one of the most chaotic ride experiences I've ever had. At number 7, we have Goliath, an RMC Woody at Six Flags Great America. This coaster going into 2024 was my number 1 overall, and I think it's clear to see I've dropped it a little bit. This coaster is still fantastic, and even placing it this low feels criminal. Goliath is still a fantastic ride though, and begins with a fantastic 185-foot drop. This drop provides insane ejector airtime and is a great start to the ride. Other notable moments include the 2 inversions, especially the hang time stall. They both have great hang time. The airtime hill has some fantastic ejector airtime, and the turnarounds have good lateral floater airtime in and out of them. With all these compliments, you're probably wondering why I have Goliath ranked this low. And the reason is because I just named every element of the ride. This ride is just short, with the coaster's insane pacing helping the coaster fly through its 3,000 feet of track. Goliath is just a short ride and it can't really compete with the rest of these. Moving on to number 6, we have one of the most iconic yet polarizing coasters of all time, Millennium Force at Cedar Point. This coaster was the first ever Giga, or first ever coaster to reach 300 feet. This was groundbreaking when it was first made, but since then, many people have been split about Millennium Force, with some people saying it's one of the best coasters in the world, while others claim it is forceless and overrated. I unfortunately feel like I'm leaning a little more towards the negative side of things, but before we get into the negatives, let's go over everything fantastic about this ride. The 310-foot first drop is insane, and has fantastic floater airtime all the way down the drop. The sense of speed is incredible, and throughout most of this coaster's long layout, the 93 mph top speed is trying to rip your face off. Finally, near the finale, you get one more great flowjector hill, and that mostly rounds out the positives about this ride. The negatives include a huge amount of forceless overbanks that do nothing but take away speed from the ride. Another small complaint I have is that a lot of the elements are really dragged out, to the point that they're taking away some of the force that the elements would have had without this. I won't go fully in depth about my feelings because I will be talking about them in my eventual Cedar Point ranking, but the positive aspects here are some of the best on any coaster and help make this one of the best coasters at Cedar Point and of this whole list. At number 5, we have Raging Bull, a B&M Hyper at Six Flags Great America. This is the best coaster at my home park, and whenever I'm at the park, I feel like I can re-ride this all day without getting tired. This coaster has so many great airtime moments, like the first drop that provides insane ejector airtime in the back row. The pre-drop right before it helps give so much momentum going into the first drop, and helps the ejector airtime feel even more sudden and powerful. Other great airtime moments consist of the Camelback, the fantastic drop off the mid-course, and 2 more good moments of floater. This ride's twister layout also adds character to the ride by helping this coaster distinguish itself from other B&M Hypers. Of course, there are some flaws, like a few high off the ground moments that don't provide any airtime. However, that's just mostly being picky. Overall, Raging Bull is a fantastic airtime machine that I'm very happy to have at my home park. At number 4, we have Magnum XL 200 at Cedar Point. This coaster opened in 1989 as the world's first hyper coaster, or coaster over 200 feet. With age, this coaster has gotten very split reviews, with some people saying it's the worst coaster they have ever ridden, while others claim it is one of the best in the world. I am on the extreme positive of this argument, and I think this coaster is elite. Magnum is just pure fun, while providing some insane force. The first drop and Giant Hill provide great floater, the hills before and after the turnaround provide great flowjector, and then you get to the finale. The finale on Magnum consists of a few runs of tiny bunny hills that provide the most insane ejector airtime ever experienced. These hills are my favorite elements ever. They are just so powerful and sudden. These hills are truly indescribably good, and it is a perfect way to end this ride. Although the coaster is not the smoothest, it is still a hidden gem, and my personal second favorite coaster ever, even though I believe 3 others are better. This coaster is just so underrated and so good, and I'm only expecting it to rise more with more re-rides. At number 3, we have Lightning Rod at Dollywood. This coaster broke a lot of records when it opened in 2016 as the world's first and only launched wooden coaster. Since then, it's lost its launch and its wooden coaster status. However, this coaster is still insane. This coaster blew my mind when I rode it back in March and instantly became my new number 1. This coaster did run pretty slow for me in the first half, which I think was probably an effect of losing the launch. However, despite not running the fastest, all elements provided great floater, especially the first drop. The twist and shouts provide great whip and airtime, and the quad down has 4 great pops of rapid fire ejector airtime. This coaster is a little short, however, it still has a bunch of great airtime moments, whether it's sustained like the first half or super quick and strong like the second half. Overall, a fantastic coaster, and it's just beaten out by number 2. Speaking of number 2, Maverick, Cedar Point. When Maverick opened in 2007, it immediately became infamous for being small but mighty. This coaster only stands 105 feet tall, but still packs a huge punch. This coaster values rapid fire pacing and elements over a more sustainable pace you would find on other coasters. This coaster is also super whippy, with elements like the Stangle Dives, Lateral Snap, and Snap out of the second launch being perfect examples of just how insane this coaster can be. The amount of whip you get on these elements is insane, in the best way possible. Maverick also balances whip with airtime, as the first drop and other 2 airtime moments provide some of the best quick ejector ever. Overall, an absolutely insane and intense tiny coaster that deserves to be high on this list. At number 1, we have Steel Vengeance at Cedar Point. Let's be honest, you all knew this was going to be number 1. Steel Vengeance is just perfect. From beginning to end, it's so smooth with great pacing, good whip, and the most airtime on any coaster in the world. There's literally nothing bad I can say about it. This ride is pure airtime from start to finish. So much fantastic ejector, whether it be sustained like the Outer Banked Hill or quick pops like the finale. This ride has no shortage of amazing elements, and the inversions as well feel so natural and flow so well with the ride. I won't go any further into my feelings, as I do have a full video planned talking about this amazing coaster. But to summarize my feelings here, Steel Vengeance is an airtime machine that delivers in every element and throughout the long ride, never leaves you with any dead spots. Easily the best coaster on this list, and according to many, in the world. That's all for today, so thank you for watching, and please subscribe.